how to solve them.
Congressman Paul, let me ask you, do you agree with the Bush doctrine, or would you change it?
Well, I certainly agreed with his foreign policy that he ran on and that we as Republicans won in the year 2000. You know, the humble foreign policy, no nation building, don't be the policeman of the world. And we were strongly critical of the policy of the Clinton administration that did the opposite. And we fell short. Of course, the excuse is that 9/11 changed everything. But the Bush doctrine of preemptive war is not a minor change. This is huge. This is the first time we as a nation accept as our policy that we start the wars. I don't understand this, and that all options are on the table to go after Iran. This is not necessary. These are third world nations. They're not capable. But I think it's the misunderstanding or the disagreements that we've had in this debate along the campaign trail is the nature of the threat. I'm as concerned about the nature of the threat of terrorism as anybody, if not more so. But they don't attack us because we're free and prosperous. And there are radicals in all elements, in all religions, that will resort to violence. But if we don't understand that the reaction is because we invade their countries, and occupy their countries, we have bases in their country, and we haven't done it just since 9/11, but we have done that a long time. I mean, it was the Air Force base in Saudi Arabia before 9/11 that was given as the excuse. If we don't understand that, we can't win this war against terrorism.
You can break in here, Governor Romney.
Well, unfortunately, Ron, you need a thorough understanding of what radical jihad is, what the movement is, what its intent is, where it flows from, and the fact is that it's trying to bring down not just us, but it's trying to bring down all moderate Islamic governments, Western governments around the world, as we just saw in Pakistan. But let's step back with regards to the president. The president is not arrogant. The president is not subject to a bunker mentality. The president has acted out of his desire to keep America safe. And we owe him a debt of gratitude for keeping this country safe over the last 6 years. In addition, let me continue with my own thoughts on the issue of do we follow his policy or create a new one. He did the right thing in responding and reacting to the fact that we got attacked. And people now recognize you attack America, and there is a response. But we're going to have to move our strategy from simply being a respond to military threat with military action to an effort that says we're going to use our military and non-military resources, combined with other nations who are our friends, to help move the world of Islam towards modernity and moderation. It's something that former Prime Minister Aznar of Spain spoke about. The new mission for NATO and for other nations is to help provide the rule of law, education that is not through madrasas, agricultural and economic policies that can be instilled in various Islamic countries so the Muslims are able to reject the extreme and the terrorists. We can help them. Our military is going to be needed. We do need, I agree with what the mayor said, we need to add to our military by at least 100,000 troops. But the answer is to move now to a second phase, a phase of helping Muslims become so strong they can reject the extreme.
Charlie, is this subject still open?
Sure.
Can we comment on that? I served on the Intelligence Committee in the Senate. I was the floor manager for the Republicans on the Homeland Security bill, so I have a bit of a different vantage point than some of my colleagues on this. The question had to do with preemption. Preemption didn't just appear one day as a good idea. After the Cold War, we had the one big enemy and the one big weapon against us. When we kind of took a holiday from history in the 90s and let our military slide and our intelligence capabilities slide, the world was changing. We now have multiple enemies. We now have terrorists and terrorist groups, Al-Qaeda, rogue nations in different stages of developing nuclear weapons. We must be prepared for the different kind of weaponry that we're facing. We could be attacked with a biological weapon and not even know it for a long period of time. This is a different world. So instead of mutual assured destruction, which we lived under for a long time, it's now a world where preemption has got to be an option under the right circumstances.
So you keep the Bush policy.
Things that happen on the other side of the world sometimes can affect us, such as perhaps Pakistan. We should only go in where we should and where we're able to.
Let me...
Charlie?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just make one point. Ron's analysis is really seriously flawed. The idea that the attack took place because of American foreign policy is precisely the reason I handed back a $10 million check to a Saudi prince who gave me that money at ground zero for the Twin Towers Fund, and then put out a press release saying America should change its foreign policy. It seems to me, if you don't face this squarely, there's an Islamic terrorist threat against us. It's an existential threat. It has nothing to do with our foreign policy. It has to do with their ideas, their theories, the things that they have done in the way they've perverted their religion into a hatred of us. And what's at stake are the things that are best about us: our freedom of religion, our freedom for women, our right to vote, our free economic system. Our foreign policy is irrelevant, totally irrelevant. If you read what they write, if you bother to listen to what they say, this comes out of their own perverted thinking.
Charlie.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Let me try to explain so you can understand this better. Try to visualize how we would react if they did that to us. If a country, say China, came at great distance across the ocean, and they say, we want you to live like us. We want you to have our economic system. We want bases on your land. We want to protect our oil. Even if we do that with good intentions, even if the Chinese did that with good intentions, we would all be together and we'd be furious.
Ron, you're reading their propaganda. You're reading their propaganda.
What would you do?
I'd read their writings. I'd read what they write to one another, and that's why when someone like Syed Qutb lays out the philosophy of radical jihadism and says we want to kill.
And what you're saying.
Let me complete. Wants to kill Anwar Sadat when there's the assassination of Anwar Sadat. It has nothing to do with us. Why do they kill Madame Bhutto? It has nothing to do with us. This has to do with a battle that is going on within the world of Islam, of radical, violent jihadists trying to bring down all moderate Islamic people and nations and replace them with a religious caliphate. And we are doing our very best to help support the voices of moderation.
Who had we invaded before 9/11?
They treaded in the Philippines.
We were occupying. We had an air base in Saudi Arabia.
Ron,
we have propped up. How many governments have we propped up?
Just before we stop, Governor Huckabee, I owe you a few seconds because somebody said no. Our Senator Thompson said we're not arrogant. We're not bunker mentality.
Well,
just take a few seconds.
Those words. First of all, Governor Romney, you yourself on 60 Minutes said that we had left Iraq in a mess. You've also said that you weren't going to have this my way or no way philosophy. And I've been attacked for using the words policy that had an arrogance and bunker mentality. I didn't say the president was. I supported the president in the war before you did. I supported the surge when you didn't. I'm not a person who is out there taking cheap shots at the president. I worked really hard to get him elected. But I'm not running for George Bush's third term. I want to be president of the United States on my own terms. And I think it's important for us to recognize...
Charlie,
let me finish this. When Congressman...
I get a chance to respond.
We'll all get a chance to respond before it's over, I'm sure. But the fact is, when there is a serious threat to this country, it is not a threat because we happen to be peace-loving people. It's a threat because in the heart of the radical Islamic faith, not all Islam, and that's what's very important. This isn't an Islamic problem. This is a jihadist problem. This is an Islamo-fascism problem. And if you read the writings of those who most influenced, and Governor Romney mentioned Syed Qutb, executed in Egypt in 1966, he is one of the major philosophers behind this. And the fact is, there is nothing about our attacking them that prompts this. They are prompted by the fact they believe that they must establish a worldwide caliphate that has nothing to do with us other than we live and breathe, and their intention is to destroy us.
Very quickly, you went after Governor Romney.
Yeah, a number of things. I disagree with the governor writing in Foreign Affairs magazine that the president's administration suffers from an arrogant bunker mentality.
Did you read the article before you came on?
I did read the article.
The entire article.
I read the entire article, and I thought it was... Well, I won't make any further comments. It was not something...
Before you comment on it.
Before I got a copy of the article and read the article, and at the headline of the article, it said...
Read mine?
I've got to call
John, hold on. John, no, I didn't. Sorry, but I read his. Number two.
What about mine?
Number two. I did support the surge. It was Senator McCain, of all of us, who was out fighting for the surge. He was right on that. On the same day the president announced the surge, I also, having spoken that day with Fred Kagan, who's one of the brilliant theorists in this regard, I laid out my plan that I thought made sense. Actually, even before the president's speech calling for additional troops, I called for a different number. So I also supported the surge from the very beginning. But look, Governor, don't try and characterize my position. Of course, this war has not
Which
been...
one?
You know, we're wise to talk about policies and not to make personal attacks.
Well, it's not a personal attack, Mitt, because you also supported a timed withdrawal, and Senator Pryor from my state was praising you for that. And
I do not support and have never support a timed withdrawal. So that's wrong, Governor. You know, it's really helpful if you talk about your policies and the things you believe, and let me talk about my policies. And my policy is I've never talked about a timed withdrawal with a date certain for us to leave. That's not the case. Simply wrong. I've also supported the troop surge, Governor, and I supported it on the same day the President brought it forward. And the critical thing here is for us to stand together and to say, I think we do agree with the troop surge. We believe that the troop surge is going to make an enormous difference for the world and protect us from the establishment of safe havens from which al-Qaeda could launch attacks against us.
Very quickly.
There's always a radical element in almost all religions. They have to have an incentive. We give